Happy week 6 of the NFL season. Welcome into the PHLY Eagles pregame show brought to you by our friends at Miller Lite. Find out why. It's the original light beer since 1975. To this day, still the best one. Had some friends and family at the house yesterday for my daughter's 3-year-old birthday party.
Happy birthday.
Had a couple Miller Lights myself.
There you go.
But Fran, happy game day.
It feels like forever since we've had one.
It does feel like a long time since we've had one of these. Eagles, Browns in South Philadelphia. You can't ask for a better day outside for football. Sun is shining, a little bit of a cool breeze in the air. This is the perfect football weather.
It feels like get-right atmosphere.
Yeah.
But everything, as we're going to talk about, there's still like that little seed of doubt until you see it happen for the Eagles here in this game. Obviously, they come in heavily favored, 9.5, right, is the latest line here for the Eagles. But ultimately, look, this is a game where you want to see them come out hot after the bye week, all the things that you saw them try and work through in the last few days. Hopefully, they're able to come back and get right here in this matchup. Yeah,
and we'll get into how bad Deshaun Watson has been and why this is a big one, because you're seeing some truly horrific play offensively on that side of the game, on the ball for Cleveland. Zack Berman is going to join us in about 8 minutes here to talk about the inactives and Cooper DeJean and all that good stuff today. But Fran, this is the first game the Eagles have to go on without Devin White on the roster. You know, how does one pick themselves up and just continue on after that?
That's the thing, is that obviously, look, there was a lot made of it when the move was made last Friday, but this is a guy that hasn't played it down, for the team. But it certainly does affect their depth in terms of what they thought they had coming into the season. Certainly going into camp, they probably guessed that Devin White was going to be a starter for this team. He loses the job in the summer, and now they're going to have to count on Ben Van Sumeren and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. being really the key depth pieces alongside the young veteran Oren Burks.
Yeah, an injury away from a scary situation for the Eagles' middle of the defense there. But we were talking before the show. Today, you say get right game. You're at home. It's been a while. You're at full strength again. You get Lane and AJ and DeVonta back. You would expect these first 15 plays today, right? You've had 2 weeks to work on this. You've had issues in practice that you were able to address over the downtime. You want to come out strong today. Whenever it is you get the ball, I would imagine they defer, as they always do if they win the toss. That first offensive possession today, what are you looking for to see? How important is it? Am I making too much of it?
No, you're not making too much of it. To me, I talked about this with Cuz on Friday. I think the big thing that you're looking for from this Eagles offense early in the game is that ability to come out and look crisp with whatever you're doing. Run game, pass game, whatever the game plan is coming in, just look confident, look crisp, look like you're not having to try super hard to be able to move the football. If they come out and they go 3 and out. I was talking to some people that are down there at the game, they're at the stadium, and they said the lots were full like as early as possible in this game. That crowd is going to be frothing at the mouth. If coming off the bye, if they come out and they go 3 and out and things look sloppy and there are penalties and mistakes, it's gonna be an ugly scene at Lincoln Financial Field. So they've got to come out and look crisp with whatever it is that they've got in the game plan. And look, at the end of the day, we know that the offense has not looked super efficient over especially the last couple of weeks. And so if you come out and you go into the bye week and you say, these are the things that we wanted to focus on, this is what we wanted to harp on to improve, and then you come out and you don't look good doing it, that's just not going to reflect well on the coaching staff, certainly in this game. And so you want, now that you're fully healthy, you get DeVonta back, AJ Brown, Lane Johnson, everyone back in the lineup. The Eagles have full bore. No one even on the injury report on Friday. This is what you want. The cards are stacked for this offense and for this defense to look as good as you're going to coming off the week of rest.
Yeah, and I'm a simple man. I would like to see Saquon Barkley just rush the ball first possession. Set yourself up on a nice little manageable second and short situation. I understand the excitement of like bringing a stadium to life with a big splash play or attempt right away. But to me, like Lane Johnson's back. Just give the ball to Saquon Barkley, run it behind him and Mekhi Becton, pick up 6 yards, and just baby step your way back into this a little bit. I feel like they need to get in a rhythm early because there's pressure all around. And you say if they go 0-3 in the first drive there, Jeffrey Lurie
will be out.
Yeah, like that stadium, he's going to notice the stadium turning. There's a big momentum swing because now you're entering post-bye. These next 4 games, you really should be able to go 3-1 or 4-0 if you're a good playoff team. So like it starts now. It starts at home versus a bad Cleveland team. you got to get it going.
Yeah, and the defensive coordinator on the other side, Jim Schwartz, he's well aware of like how momentum can swing in that building, and so certainly that's something he talked about with his guys probably last night. I would think, Jamie, that's usually something that the coach will talk about Friday, Saturday, late in the week, is just trying to talk about how to ride that wave in the opposing stadium. So I'm sure Jim Schwartz has brought that up to Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward and the rest of that defense here going into this game.
Well, we saw something a minute ago. We'll of course address it with Zack Berman, but Fran, I don't know what to make of this. I'll leave the analysis of the game tape up to you. But our head football coach, Nick Sirianni, is sporting a little bit of a new look here. Kind of maybe looks like he went into one of the padded rooms and shaved his head, and he came out as Nick 2.0 here. Does the shave head, is that going to help Nick Sirianni?
I mean, I guess that remains to be seen of whether or not it'll help. Look, it's one of those things, and Chris Long has said this over on the Green Light Pod. I want to give credit where it's due there. I think that typically when you see somebody that's gonna, they're looking for a change.
Yeah.
They're looking to kind of rectify some wrongs that have gone on recently. One thing you can do is change the do up top, and I think that's certainly something we're seeing here from Nick Sirianni. I'm sure he'll be asked about it post game. Look, he should actually be hoping that he gets asked about it post game, because that means that things went well. They won the game. If they lose this game, he's not being asked about his hair afterwards.
Yeah. So there's new look Nick for you coming out of the bye at home. But like this is going to be a defining 4-game stretch for this team coming up here. And look, there's not a lot of these 1:00 afternoon home games. This is kind of like, the prime time, fan base you want to get it out in front of, and like, you just can't let this one slip. Now, Deshaun Watson is bad. Like EPA per play up there, like amongst the worst in the league. Some truly terrible stuff from Deshaun Watson. I know you're in a piece on PHLY.com this week. You kind of pointed out, like, you hear it's bad, you think it's bad, and then you watch it, and wow, it's worse.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about what the defense is up. Cooper DeJean gets thrust into a big spot today. Deshaun Watson's terrible.
Yeah, I think that, we've obviously, a lot of people that are watching us right now, maybe we're watching on Thursday when Bo and I went through it. But I think that the big thing with Deshaun Watson is that you almost imagine, we've all come across people that are bash Jalen Hurts and what he looks like at his worst, and he holds onto the football, he doesn't know what he's reading, he holds onto the ball, and he's getting off those first and second reads. That's what like Deshaun Watson is to the nth degree right now. He's just not seeing the field all that clearly. He's turning down throws at a really, really high rate, and that's just something that you don't want to see from your starting quarterback. And it's compounded by the fact that they're having major issues from a protection standpoint. They've made 3 changes along the offensive line. We'll talk about that with ZB here in a couple minutes. But changes up front along the offensive line, but then they're also one of the leaders in the league right now in terms of drop passes. Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, and the rest of that receiving core putting the ball on the ground. We saw passes go off receivers' hands and end up in the opposing defense's hands. And so I think this is a game. One of the things I wrote down in that piece for all PHLY, Jamie, is that the defense, the back 7, this is an opportunity. You have to be ready for tips and overthrows if you're the secondary. You're the safety room. You're the cornerback room. Even the linebackers. There's going to be balls up in the air that you've got to take advantage of in this game. If you want to try and win the turnover battle, yes, that's on Jalen Hurts and the offense to not give the ball away. But the Eagles' defense has just not taken it away at a high enough clip as well. This is an opportunity to get right in that part of the stat sheet here in this football game.
Yeah, is it still the only 2 Reed Blankenship turnovers? Is that all they got?
I think there was a sack fumble in there somewhere, right? There was a fumble recovery, but yeah, I mean it's
bad.
It has not been to the point where certainly it's below average from league standards right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably look, Cooper DeJean is getting thrust in here.
He's a star,
as the primary nickel corner today. We'll see what that is, but I think part of it is they need a playmaker out there. Cooper blitzed some in college. He can throw his head in there and make some tackles. He comes downhill, very athletic. Hopefully he can make a play. Somebody's got to make a play on this defense. To your point, look, the Browns let up a lot of pressure on Deshaun Watson too. He hasn't had over a 200-yard passing game this year. What can we expect from the defensive line today to get after him, to take advantage of this? Are you expecting anything different, any sort of different rotations, maybe more Thomas Booker, maybe a little of this, a little of that? What are you looking forward to today?
Yeah, I think schematically, they'll probably try and just mix things up with what they're showing Deshaun Watson in this Cleveland offense. I don't think that it's going to be turn the dial up on the blitzes and just go blitz, 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 blitz. I don't think you need to do that against this front. Now, again, they've made some changes, and we'll get into that from a personnel standpoint, but I think you come out, kind of do what you do. And Vic Fangio, one of the things that he's always been really good at is disguising the picture for the quarterback. Show him one thing before the snap and then deploy something differently afterwards. I think you'll see a lot of that early in this football game, just to try and keep Deshaun Watson on his toes. He's here on his own. He's kind of playing outside of structure and outside of rhythm. And so if you can kind of force him to do that by changing that picture for him, that's only going to help your cause. But the big thing, remember last game against Baker Mayfield and the Bucs, how often we saw receivers just kind of running scot-free across the second and third level of the field. Defensively, when Deshaun Watson breaks the pocket, those guys in the back seven have got to do a better job of plastering routes and sticking to receivers, not letting guys running scot-free open over the middle of the field. You can't let that happen here if you're the Eagles defense.
Yeah. Speaking of the Eagles defense, let's get down to Lincoln Financial Field here as our man ZB joins the show live from the LINC. Zach, you and Fran are going to get into some nitty-gritty of the inactives today and what that means for the Browns and Eagles. But what's our vibe check down at the stadium? Beautiful day for some football. I saw Jason Kelsey out there tailgating with the fans. Good vibes down at the LINC today. People excited?
Yeah, you put it well. It's an excited crowd. It's a perfect day here. I walked around the concourse before the game, and you sensed that type of excitement right now. Of course, if the Eagles haven't scored a point in the first quarter yet this season, if they go 0 for the first quarter again, I imagine this crowd turns from excited to displeased very quickly and vocally so. But I think this is a fan base that is that's eager for something to cheer about. The band is back together. They had a week off here. There's it's justifiable. It's excitement as far as I'm concerned.
Zach, let's get into some of the big changes here that can impact this football game. And certainly a lot of it is the Eagles getting healthy. As we mentioned, they get all their horses back for this game on offense. But looking over at the Browns offense, 3 major changes along the offensive line. Ethan Pocic, their starting center, he is out. So Nick Harris, he steps in. Michael Dunn, the starter at right guard, a player that you know well. He's the starter there for the rookie Zach Zinter. So that's their 3rd starting right guard here in this game. And then Jack Conklin, a former Pro Bowl right tackle, he's playing for the first time here in this football game. And so we've got 3 new starters for the Browns offensive line. What do you think this means here for the Eagles defense in your estimation?
Yeah, well, the Browns O-line needs it, right? Deshaun Jackson, his sack rate, is in the bottom 3 or 4 in the league this year, and it's a line that's been beat up by injuries. You mentioned some of the players they have back, like Jack Conklin. That's huge for them. So I still think, though, this is a chance for the Eagles to get pressure on Deshaun Watson. This Kevin Stefanski offense is at its best when it can incorporate play action. If the Eagles are behind in the game, then it allows the Browns to play on their tempo, and play action is more effective. If it's the other way around, if Eagles get a lead, if that play action is less effective, that's when you can really get after Deshaun Watson. And you see how much Deshaun Watson is passing this season. A big part of that is because of the game scripts for the Browns. So you need to play a favorable game script for the Eagles. But you're absolutely right. This is an offensive line that, frankly, might be better than some of the previous games this year because of the different personnel. I'm obviously biased, as I said on the show, about number 68 on Cleveland. But in all seriousness, when you look at the guys they have back, especially Pocic and Conklin, those are experienced starters who should, in theory, help that group.
So, Zach, one of the other big things Eagles fans are going to be paying attention to today is Cooper DeJean. Huge opportunity from what you saw in warm-ups and the buzz around the stadium. Looks like he'll be the starting nickel corner. It should be a fun experiment. Look, Avonte Maddox probably wasn't going to improve. Cooper DeJean will probably have some learning curves, but can improve and get better week to week. The new era starts, I guess, today, and that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, well said. And in fact, I don't look at it as an experiment. I look at it as a necessity. Cooper DeJean was a top 50 pick. Fran, I believe, had a first-round grade on him, right? And so you're looking at someone who should be able to play. And frankly, if he did not have that injury during the summer, he probably, from my estimation, would have been a day 1 slot. The fact that he missed 4 weeks in the camp set him back. The Eagles have had him focus on slot entirely now for the past 3 weeks or so, and I really think that he's ready for this. Now, I will defer to Fran as far as the film evaluation that Avonte Maddox perhaps hasn't played as bad as the reputation would indicate. But I do think there's just differences in the game. First off, Cooper DeJean for fans who haven't seen him, physically much bigger than Avonte Maddox, right? If you look at what he was able to do at Iowa, he takes the ball away and he's a proficient tackler. Those are two things that the Eagles badly need. Now, I'm not saying that by putting him in there, you're going to get the interception or you're going to get these big hits, but this is a part of his game that I think it was really his feature coming out. That his versatility, his athleticism. The questions about him were more in terms of change of direction, and I think that's mitigated partly by him being in the slot here, right? And so I think that this is a unnecessary move for the Eagles. It's about time. You're right. There will be a learning curve, but I take those lumps in favor of the positives that could come out of the game. And I'll end it there by just saying, like, look what happened with Quinyon Mitchell. We said the same thing. There's going to be a learning curve with Quinyon Mitchell. He's been as consistent a player as there's been for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see just how Cooper looks here in this football game, especially because he is making a position switch as well. So that would be the one thing that would be different than Quinyon in terms of him playing completely on the outside, him making that position switch. I would imagine, too, that has been the delay in terms of getting him up to speed and getting him out on the field as well. Do you have any vibes right now, Zach, in terms of what the approach will be from Vic Fangio going into this game? What do you expect from the game plan going into this matchup with Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, good point there. And just the last thing with DeJean, my understanding is kind of what's been holding him back is just the communication there, right? Because that is a position where you're passing off coverage. You need to know how to work with the corner and the safety, and there's an adjustment there. So that is a good point. As far as what Vic Fangio is going to do, my guess is that they're obviously going to try to limit the big plays, right? They'll be mindful of Deshaun's legs. But I think they're gonna the focus here needs to be applying pressure on Deshaun Watson and really forcing him to try to beat you in the way that he hasn't been able to do this year. Now, I think inside the building, there's more respect for Deshaun Watson than maybe what the fans might have, in part because Nick Sirianni saw him in Houston for all those years in the AFC South and has seen him at his best. He has not been at his best in the first 5 weeks this year. So my guess is that the plan here is going to end. I should say, in talking to the locker room this week, one thing that kept coming up is Deshaun's legs. Now, he hasn't been as great a runner this year, but you know he has that in him, right? And so I in the times when I hear that from players, one thing I kind of take from that is they really want to keep him in the pocket and make him try to beat him there, right? Like not have those off schedule, off script plays. I think Jerome Ford and some of the things that Browns can do in the running game if they can control the game script is advantageous to them. So it's real important that the Eagles get a lead and are playing from ahead here.
So, Zach, I'm going to give you the Kellen Moore cap today. You know Jim Schwartz really, really well. How would you attack a Jim Schwartz defense today from the Eagles side of things?
Yeah, I would attack them deep, right? I mean, that's always kind of been the I think the vulnerability in that defense is you'll see some single high, right? And so can you beat them deep? It's not a shell coverage type defense. Now this is a different Jim Schwartz defense than what we saw in Philly in the sense that they are blitzing more than what he did in Philly. And the linebacker play is better. JOK has really had a good year for the Browns. That said, knowing Jim Schwartz covering him for 5 years, he's going to want to take out the run. I think his approach here is going to be to try to limit Saquon Barkley, and similar to what I said about Deshaun Watson, is to try to have Jalen beat you as a thrower. But the difference is that Jalen has AJ Brown back, Jalen has DeVonta back, and I think that if the Eagles can get some plays downfield, some explosives, that's where they can hurt this defense.
Yeah, and Cleveland missing players in the back seven, namely up the middle. Both safeties are out of this game. So Grant Delpit and Ronnie Hickman both out due to injury. Jordan Hicks out due to injury. So the former Eagle linebacker not in, but a former Eagles safety, Rodney McLeod, will get the start. And then DeAnthony Bell will get the start. He's got just a quick scouting report on Bell. He is like their Tristan McCollum, guys. He's a height, weight, speed player, but his eyes just were not great when he was coming out of college and still a young player. And so I do think that there will be opportunities, Zach, to your point, for them to be able to attack vertically down the field. I do wonder, though, is this going to impact how Jim Schwartz wants to play defense? Because he has been playing man coverage at such a high clip. Will he want to leave Rodney McLeod and or DeAnthony Bell in those one-on-one matchups with a Dallas Goedert? I don't know that he'll feel super comfortable with that. Denzel Ward also, he was active for this game, but he'd missed the majority of the week of practice. And so he's clearly banged up, and we'll see if that injury really affects him here in this game. They might not feel great about leaving their corners one-on-one going up against A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith. So I'm going to be fascinated to see, Zach, how much these injuries are going to impact what Jim Schwartz is going to want to do defensively. Yeah,
and speaking of A.J. Brown Friday, one thing that he was saying is that Denzel Ward's a guy who has shadowed opposing wide receivers, right?
Yep.
And so we'll see, given the injury for Ward, not for AJ, if that's something that continues here. If we do see more zone, like you mentioned, but that's a matchup in particular that, I mean, he's their guy, Denzel Ward, and with AJ back, that's a great matchup to watch.
So, Zach, last one from me. This year on the season in the NFL, entering week 6, underdogs of 6 or more are 16-2-1 against the spread, which tells me that that's probably going to be a close game today. And then I see Nick Sirianni's new haircut. I'm not well, man. Tell me this is going to be okay today.
So I will defer to you here. How does the haircut affect the outcome? Is that a positive or negative? Do you have bad feelings about the haircut or good feelings?
My read is he's bugging out.
Okay. No, I think maybe it's more efficient. Spends less time in the morning having to clean that. So I don't know how to analyze the haircut part of it, but I do think that the Browns are a better team than the point spread indicates. I was surprised by that. I also think this is a no excuse game for the Eagles. You can't say injuries. The Eagles are completely healthy going into this game. You can't say rest. This isn't a short week for them, right? The Browns are the team on 1 week. There's Bo trying to be funny. I would never do that if Bo's done this shit. So the Browns are on a short. The Eagles have 2 weeks to prepare for this game. Okay, you like they're home. There's so many things that are in the Eagles' favor here. The Browns are not playing well. There's no excuse the Eagles can point to in this game. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think the Eagles are going to cover because I think the Browns are a better team than what the point spread suggests. I think the Eagles may be a worse team than what the point spread suggests. But I'll put it this way: if you're looking for a glimmer of optimism, I've seen A.J. Brown in this offense one time, and the offense was awesome in that game. I mean, other than the times when they turned the ball over. In the first quarter, they were driving downfield. They're explosive. They looked the way it was designed to be. Like that week 1 game in Brazil, it seems like a year ago now, right?
It does,
but like that's how this offense was designed. I think with AJ back, it's going to look a lot closer to that.
All right, that's great stuff, ZB. We will be checking in with you after the game. Hopefully a victorious one, and the haircut for Nick Sirianni is great, and everything is peachy. Appreciate your time. Tell your partner, Bo, we'll see him soon, and talk to you soon, Zach.
Thanks, guys.
Of course, Bo, just being Bo back there.
Yeah, Austin Powers.
Yes,
So it was,
needed a little work on his steps.
Yeah, it wasn't as smooth.
He didn't really go 100% there.
No.
But speaking of Bo, let's get to our best bet segment. Me and Bo do it every week, courtesy of our friends over at Bet365. Find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. They pioneered live in-game betting. They got great stuff going on. So check it out. Use promo code PHLY365, and you can get $200 in bonus bets. Today, I'm going with a simple one. I'm going to go a little parlay, a little plus 220 parlay, which is Eagles money line, because I do not like laying that many points right now with this Eagles team. So just give me the money line. So that cheapens it down to 220. I think Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown are going to make it a point to get it going today. So I'll take Hurts over 230.5 passing yards, A.J. Brown over 66.5 receiving yards. How do you think I'm feeling here?
I like that. I do think you're going to see the Jalen AJ connection here in this one. Look, he's missed his guy. He hasn't had him for a month. So I think that they will make it a point. I agree to try and hook up here in this one.
And Bo's best bets, we got an A.J. Brown touchdown at plus 137. That's good value there on A.J. Brown to score. And A.J. Brown also over 68.5 receiving yards. So Bo and I are lockstep, as well as hopefully everybody here. Sometimes it is just that simple, Fran, right? Like getting a Lane Johnson and A.J. Brown and a DeVonta Smith back. Boom. Entirely new offense.
Does it fix everything?
No.
No, it doesn't fix everything. But definitely can help. I think that's the big thing you're looking for from the offense.
Could A.J. Brown rush the quarterback? You think
No,
he could give you any DMs?
Could he do it?
Yeah, he might be
could
able
do it.
to.
Anyway, he's a thick guy, man. I mean, I remember seeing him for the first time in person and being kind of like taken aback by how big he was for a receiver, very TO-ish in the way that he's built. But Bryce Huff is probably built pretty similarly, and he's having his struggles. Look, this is a game for Bryce Huff. You hope that the bye week was kind of like that mental reset. Let's unplug, get back to basics. And let's see if we can get things going here. I do think that there's an optimistic case to look for Bryce Huff here moving forward. We touched on that earlier in the week on the show, but I think that ultimately you're hoping that this was that mental reset that he needed, because physically everything like looks fine. The metrics, like the get off speed and all that, it's all checking out from what he did a year ago. He's just got to start winning at the top of the rush, which he's just not doing right now. No matter who he's lined up against, no matter if he's standing up, hand in the dirt, two hands in the dirt, he's just not winning against opposing tackles or tight ends when they're lined up across from him. Hopefully that changes for him here today.
Is it safe to say Myles Garrett's the best player on the football field today?
Yeah, he's an alien, man. He's a special player.
And the Browns and Eagles faced off in camp 2 years ago, and I believe Jordan Mailata had his work cut out, if I'm remembering reports correctly.
He missed. So Myles Garrett missed the first day and then played the second day and was just, he's Myles Garrett. He's like 6'4", 275 pounds, and he's the leader by like a long shot in terms of quick pressure. So pressures under 2.5 seconds. Just his explosiveness. And in that scheme with Jim Schwartz, they just like say, pin your ears back and go.
Yeah, do whatever
he's a
you
banshee
want.
off the edge. He's
so are
crazy.
we going to see him a little? I know he's labeled left defensive end. Are we going to see him bumping around a lot? Is it Lane? Is it Jordan? How can we expect to see this terror?
I think it'll be mostly Jordan. That would be my guess.
Okay.
That's where he has spent most of his time going up against opposing left tackles. Now, they'll move him around, but I think with Lane Johnson being back, I think they'll probably say, all right, let's keep you over on Jordan Mailata's side. You'll probably have a better job trying to get production that way.
Yeah. So it should be a fun one. Now, Fran, I asked Zach, how do you attack a Jim Schwartz defense?
Yep.
What are you expecting from the offense today? I know you can run on this team. That's one way to eliminate Myles Garrett from, the game plan a little bit. How's Fran Duffy attacking this Jim Schwartz defense? Is it quick hitters? Is it big chunk explosive plays? Is it a Dallas Goedert day? What do you think's up the sleeve of Kellen Moore and Nick today?
Yeah, I think the big thing, it's very similar. Honestly, look, I spent every single day for 5 years studying the Jim Schwartz defense and how opposing teams were attacking them on a weekly basis. And so I think you'll just play the hits that way. Run game. And the run game, I think the big thing we'll see in this one is some of those quick hitting runs where you want to try and get Saquon Barkley getting up the field fast. So trap blocks, wham blocks, the tight end coming across the formation and getting Saquon Barkley getting up the field fast. You'll probably see some quarterback draw where you're sucking the defense up and then getting Jalen working behind them. I think you'll see some jet sweep type of things today. But I think run game, play action, move the pocket, screen game, quick game. I think those are the kind of things just to try and keep that defensive line off balance. And certainly playing with the lead will help that. I do think you need full team complementary football in order to make that game plan work. And so my guess, play action, screen games, get that run game going, especially with some of those quick hitting plays. And I think that's probably a recipe for success here in this football game.
I'm a sucker for play action. I love it. But, Jalen Hurts doesn't go under center much, which definitely takes away a lot of the playbook in that regard. I'd love to see it, though. Saquon Barkley is plus 150 anytime touchdown score today.
I like that.
Kind of like that on Bet365. So that's going to do it for us here. It is almost game time in South Philadelphia. To everybody here that hung out in the chat, we appreciate you. Why don't you hit that thumbs up button before you get out of here? Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And, of course, go to allphly.com. Fran's killing it. We got Les Bowen, Zack Berman, Bo, the Wolf's Den this week about player names and colors. I mean, where else can you get that?
Nowhere else.
And we got some of the best writers in the city across the board. So you can support us by becoming a diehard here at PHLY. I promise you, if you're a sports nerd, which I assume everybody here is, it is well worth your money. You won't regret it at all. So we appreciate all of you. We are going to be live at halftime, Fran, with the reactions to the first half. And then the post-game show here, we're going to have Vinny Curry, Bo Wolf in studio, Zack Berman checking in from the stadium. We'll see if Nick Sirianni's haircut is good or bad after the game. There's only one way this can go. It's going to be good or bad.
Yeah. Look, if we're not having fun halftime, it's going to be an ugly scene a couple minutes away in Lincoln Financial Field.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. We'll see you at halftime and see you after the game.
We all silly like the mayor.